Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. At the end of last week's video, I had mentioned I was going to take this filter and convert it into a heated canister filter. Unfortunately, my week was way too busy. I had way too much regular work to do for me to do that build. I mean, there was a few things I had to make for it, a couple of jigs, and I just didn't have the time to build those and then do the modifications and of course do all the recording and voiceovers and stuff and get it all ready for Friday. So long story shorter, I decided what I was going to do is I was going to take that filter and convert it into a heated filter, but leave it as an above the aquarium filter. It's much simpler. I mean, I tried to think of a couple of ways of making it a little bit more tricky and whatnot, but all I really did need to do was drill a hole in the lid like this, and as long as it's of sufficient diameter that the heater can pass through it, then all I need to do is put an elbow on the lower hole there, put a standpipe in it, cut the standpipe to the height that I wanted the water to fill up to, and that's it. It's done. All I need to do now is plumb it and run this. And then the downside, of course, was I have a 1.5 minute video, and I couldn't leave it like that. So I thought of a few extra ways that one can take a heater and hide it so that you don't have to look at it. I know heaters aren't really that ugly. I mean, they're fine. They're glass tubes and whatnot. But sometimes you just don't want to have all those things inside the aquarium. So I've got a couple of ways of making it so that you don't have to look at them. Now, this is going to fill up, and as far as this style of filter goes, I much prefer the way I showed it last week, with just the bottom tray not completely submerged, but at least mostly submerged. And then as far as the rest of the trays go, I like the way the water splashes through them all, and I like the gas exchange. That is just my preference on how I like to run them. Now, obviously, if I had converted this into a canister filter, it would be completely submerged, and it would work perfectly fine. I mean, I do have a number of canister filters I run on my tanks for clients, and I've never had any issues with any of them. They're a perfectly fine filter style. It's just my preference for this sort of tray system to run it as a trickle filter, just to get the extra benefit of the gas exchange. So as this fills up, you can see that the trays are not staying where they belong. I don't have any media in them, obviously, and they're just going to float up, and then once they break the water tension, they're going to settle back down. And of course, I'm not going to settle back down in their proper position, but that doesn't really matter. So once this is running, I'm going to stick the heater in it, just to show you what it looks like, and then we're going to get on to the other heater mods. There's some interesting things that you can do. So there you go. It's fully running now. It's completely submerged, and again, like I said, you can adjust that standpipe to whatever height you like. And because of the way the lid's set up, once that batten gets dirty, it will just raise up and go over the lip, and then it will still go down the pipe, so you won't have to worry about overflows either, which is kind of neat. The only other thing I want to mention about this is if you're going to build this style of filter, make sure you build it of sufficient thickness of acrylic so it can take the extra water pressure now, because it is it's full, so it is running at more, like I said, more pressure on the joints. But there you go, it's running, the heater's in it. I didn't bother plugging it in or anything, it's not really necessary. But you can see how the water flows through, and it will definitely heat and take care of it. And there's plenty of water around the heater, so that you won't have to worry about anything melting or anything. Now, when I started thinking about doing mods, I figured what I should do is show you what I consider the simplest of all. I mean, this is just a bunch of go to a hardware store and buy some plumbing parts. This is all 1.5 inch. These are bushings that take it down to threaded 1/2 inch. Obviously, I'm not gluing any of this together because I don't really need one of these at the moment. These are just some parts I had in my collection. And so far, all these parts here are just standard fittings. There's nothing modified at all. The one on the end is schedule 80 instead of schedule 40. The only reason why I did that, it gave me a little extra wall thickness so that I can build that bushing. But all you needed to do was take another bushing, you can go buy a store-bought one, and then just run a drill through it to the right diameter. I wanted a bit more of a snug fit, so I used the lathe, of course, and then all I needed to do for this is to stick it with a little bit of silicone, just to give it a bit of a washer. And then if you don't have the right size drill bit or whatever, and you're worried about leaks, all you need to do is mount this near the top of the aquarium, and then just hook it up to like a canister filter. You have an input and an output, and you just need to make a bracket and just hook it to the side of the tank, and it will do the job. The water will flow through. You just have to set the heater and make sure that it's all set for like whatever temperature you want, that sort of thing. But other than that, it's a very straightforward thing. But I couldn't quite leave it at that either. I mean, like I said, it was a very busy week, but I had a little bit of extra time, so I decided what I want to do. Instead of just leaving it there, I would show you how you can make it out of clear acrylic, just so that you can see, just so you can see the heater for that, if in case anything ever goes wrong with it. The problem with acrylic is when you're trying to when you're trying to drill tubular acrylic, you can't grip it very tightly in the vise. You can see as I'm pressing down here, it's moving quite a bit, because if you compress it too much with the vise, what happens is you deform the tube, so you don't end up with a perfectly round hole. So it's just very gently being held in, and it's moving around quite a bit, a lot more than I would feel comfortable with. I mean, I had to speed that up because it actually took a fair amount of time to do it, about 2-3 minutes. And then I need to build some brackets for this. So I need inside brackets and I need outside brackets. I've already shown you how I make the inside brackets, so I thought I'd show you a little clip here of how I make an outside bracket. So this is going to fit around the outside of the tube, and it's going to allow me to attach brackets to the cylinder so that I can mount it on the side of the aquarium. Now this could also be done not necessarily as an augment to a canister filter. It can also be just done to stick it on the back of a tank and run it off like a small power head. Now those, the smaller ones you see there, those are the inside brackets. They're going to hold the heater mounted where it needs to go. And you see the extra holes in it. That is simply to allow water to flow past them, obviously. So these are going to slide inside. I made them a little bit too snug. It took me a while to get them into the position they need to be in. But I didn't want to glue any of this together. I mean, I don't like using up all the acrylic I have for these projects that, may never actually ever need to be used. So what I was going to do is I'm just going to use a piece of PVC here, and I was going to tap it into place. It's snug enough that I don't have to worry about it falling down or anything. And this, again, is just for a demonstration. And I just have to make sure it's watertight. So there you go. That's those are the two brackets. They'll hold the heater, and the important thing about it is the lower bracket. You have to make sure that it is far enough down that it's past where the heater coils are. You don't want the heater coils coming in touch with the acrylic. I know I've skipped over a fair amount of the manufacturer of some of these, but I've gone over a lot of them before, and I don't want to get this to be too repetitive. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see a bit more detail, and I'll try and find some form of compromise. So these are the outside brackets. I'm just going to slide on. Obviously, they're going to need to be glued in place if this is going to be a permanent fixture, but I don't want to do that for this particular build. So what's going to happen is I would take brackets that would fit over the side of the tank, and I would glue those onto these, and that would be how it would hang. Now, that is one of the disadvantages of working with circular acrylic. It's just not possible just to glue square pieces onto it. So you have to do that. So you saw I scavenged some of the parts from the hob I built there a couple weeks ago because I didn't want to build them. And you can see the top one is a little loose because I squeezed the acrylic a little too much. But I got this one right. So this one will fit in quite snugly and probably would be perfectly fine without glue, but as it turns out, I bit off a little bit more I could chew for this video, and I ran out of time. I wanted to have this up and running but I didn't have enough time to do that. I will definitely do that for you for next week's video. I'll just put a little clip of this running. But I ran out of acrylic as well. I mean, all I have is that one piece of 1 inch there, and it wasn't enough. So anyway, there you go. Those are 2 heater mods, and hopefully you like that. And if you like the style of video, please like and or subscribe. And like I said, I will show you how this runs. I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I just put water through it. But it's always nice to see these things running. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.